Hello and welcome to the Jim Bakker Family Show, coming to you from the village of Morningside, USA, nestled in the beautiful Ozark Mountains. Today, our special guest is an author, senior strategist at the Pentagon, and foreign affairs analyst, retired Lieutenant Colonel Robert Maginnis, owner of Shadow Enterprises and preparedness expert Darren Bakker, and pastor of Morningside Church, Pastor Joe Cambell. Our co-host today is Mondo de la Vega. And now, live from Gray Street at Morningside, USA, here is your host, Pastor Jim Bakker.
Hello, everybody. Trump won. Yeah. I'm just saying.
You're just saying.
Just saying.
That's a North Carolina saying.
Yeah, that's right.
You almost have to say it that way for the other party to accept that there's been a loss.
Thank God he won.
Oh,
has it not been like just a burden lifted off the shoulders?
There's been a shift.
The last few days has just been so relaxing to be able to breathe. Now we're still waiting on the results of the House.
Yeah.
If we retain the House, we have an opportunity to do some amazing things.
Wow.
Even the stock markets are good.
Yeah, the day after. The day after.
Day after. I love that.
What did you think? You didn't sleep at all the day after.
Wow.
That was wild, Mo.
I was on fire. You know, I was on the air the longest I've been on in years.
Yes. Thank God.
It was a 4-hour show at least, wasn't it?
4 hours and 3 hours prior to that, you know?
Yep.
So 7 hours in a row.
And you look good.
And we prayed that God would give us a time of rebuilding in America.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the American people spoke. 2 messages were launched to America, and America responded the way America felt the country needed to go. And there was a clear message to the Democratic Party to understand that they have lost the vision of where the American people want to be, where they want to go, what they believe in. And I can tell you that the 1% lost their vision, because 99% of the people that voted don't believe in the vision of the Democratic Party. So America spoke loud and clear, and Latinos came out and voted historic numbers. The African American
brethren came out, right?
Listen, yeah, because you have to understand, Latinos, whether we were born here or we immigrated legally into the United States, we have values of what the Bible teaches. Family values. Who doesn't love family values? Well, we know who doesn't, but Latinos love family.
Latinos don't like abortion.
No, you know why? You know what we were told in the 80s? That the Republican Party was a party for the rich white man. And for us poor people, the Democratic was our party. Yet we have woken up and realized that that has been a lie, a deceptive lie, because the Republican Party represents everything that our values represent.
The Democrats are geniuses at branding.
Boy,
and they have branded the Republican Party for so long that people believe it.
Not anymore.
I know.
We have a special guest today, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Maginnis.
Yes.
He is a senior strategist at the Pentagon. He is a man that has written over hundreds of books. I want to say over 50 books. No, I'm kidding. But this man has over 50 years of experience as national security and foreign affairs analysis. He is a commentator. He's an author. He's a man that believes in this nation, and he's a friend of this ministry. Welcome back to the program, sir.
Amen.
Well, thank you, Mondo. It's my pleasure to be with you today.
We're really, really so honored to have you. And I don't know if I call you Colonel or Lieutenant or what. What title do you like?
I like Bob, Pastor.
Just Bob.
Just Bob.
What is your thoughts on this election, if you dare say?
No, I dare say. I've been talking about it for a long time. Yeah, I celebrate with you that Mr. Trump was reelected to the presidency, and have great hopes for the future because he brings a vision for America that's important to restore the things that Biden and Harris broke, and I have every expectation that those will be turned around. I am concerned internationally, which is my expertise, that we have really soured many relationships across the globe, and we've empowered our enemies in a way that is unfortunate. But I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to overcome those as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
The world is really in a turmoil, and if you know Bible, which you do, that we're in the last days of life on earth, and so great things are happening. Give me your impression of the election again. What was your main thought as you saw this election take place?
Well, like most Christians, Pastor, I've been praying for a long time, every day, that the Lord's will be done, and that I saw no path that for a Christian to embrace the radical agenda that was being espoused by the Democrats. It was pure evil in my estimation. What Mr. Trump gave us was hope on all the major issues. He was going to reverse the economic downturn, the high inflation. He's going to return jobs to America. He's going to pump oil. He's going to close the border to illegal immigration. He was going to right the ship with regard to the many wars that seem to be popping up across the globe. Now, we didn't elect Jesus Christ to the presidency. However, we did elect a man that I believe, after having been shot at there in Pennsylvania, recognizes that his life was spared for a very particular reason. And I think he's beginning to see just what that is. And I think time will tell and confirm for us, what God has in mind for America going forward.
I have my pastor here, Pastor Joe.
Hey, good to see you.
I'm
glad to be here.
Do you think this Trump election, that he came for the kingdom for such a time as this, as the Bible says?
100%. I do believe that. I believe that God spared his life, and I believe that there's a purpose in what God does. Nothing happens with God as an accident. God had a plan, and I think it was to wake up America. But that scripture that talks about, if my people which are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, I think that's where America is. I believe that we need to turn back to God. We need a great awakening in America right now.
Do you think there's hope for America now?
Oh, absolutely. I'm super excited. I tell you, this last Wednesday night, we got a chance to watch that video that you asked me to put on the 1916, is that right? 1916 project? Anyway, we watched it last night, and it was about how the abortion came into play and stuff like that. And I tell you, my eyes was open. I didn't know a lot of that stuff about, all the things that went behind the scenes. But I tell you what, America we don't need to give up now. We need to move forward. We've taken a major step forward, and I believe we need to take another step in stopping the abortions and going to the next step, making sure that people are awake and about what God is doing in this last day.
I think every church needs to put a sign on, we're open.
Yes, absolutely. We need to pack the house.
Amen. The Republicans have won the Senate, but the House is up for grabs at this moment. We hope it'll be won by the time this plays. Mm-hmm. But what would happen if the Republicans would have control of both houses? Do you think that's possible right now?
Yeah, I think it's important that, Mr. Trump and both houses be in Republicans' hands, because if not, if the Democrats control the House, they'll further the impeachment effort that they began years ago. And that will just be disruptive to the realization of President Trump's overall agenda. Now, the good news, of course, at this point is that the control of the Senate is firm, and that the appointees that Mr. Trump's going to bring to the front, we won't have obstacles getting them into place. And I understand the transition team has already started to work. They're going to place people in positions as soon as the president is sworn into office in January. And as a result, we'll have up and running new administration agendas, pushing those bureaucracies in a very different direction, especially the Defense Department, the Department of Homeland Security, State Department, and others. And that's absolutely essential to get started immediately, reversing many of the poor policies that the Biden people have put in place.
I tell you what, I got to mention something about that.
I hope so.
When President Trump was elected the first time, in my opinion, he ran the office by faith. He was not used to Washington and the politics. Today, he's back in the White House with experience.
That's it.
He
right
understands their language. He understands who he needs. Now he's being very strategic on who he's going to put in place. The first time he ran, he was trying to figure out who, and those people betrayed him within his own White House.
Right.
Today, with that experience in mind, Darren, makes a lot different, and you wonder why they're scared of him even more.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
100%. Look, the first time when he won, he didn't know, and he even says this, when he went in, he didn't know how things were to go, and there was no class, there was no education, or saying, hey, this is what's going to happen. So he had to feel his way through it. And so a lot of the senior officials, he just trusted they had, the best interests of America in their heart, and they didn't. And so now he learned, of course he learned, and actually, I hate that he didn't win 2 terms back to back. But it probably for the better, because now think about this. He fought the Democrats and the Republicans his first 2 years in office.
Yep.
He had to fight with both parties. And so now, though, if we hold the House, oh, God, please let us keep the House.
Amen.
If we have the House, we have the Senate, we have a conservative Supreme Court, and we have Trump in office that has the experience and knowledge now of who he can play or who he needs to place in his cabinet. We have an opportunity like never before in this country to do some unbelievable things. The Republicans got to get off their hands, but if they go to work, we can get a lot of things done.
Wow.
Lieutenant Colonel, I'm thrilled to have you here. Do you think with the election of Donald Trump that the globalist scheme to divide this country has been stopped, or will they intensify their efforts? What do you think?
Well, they'll intensify. There's no doubt in my mind, Pastor. I was going to say that in 2017, my book, The Deeper State, I received a personal letter from President Trump, saying that a wonderful book, and that it really went to the heart of what we're dealing with. Not only the politicians, most politicians, and I've been in and out of Washington for half a century, most politicians that come here with great ideas, but they don't know how the system works. What Mr. Trump has is an advantage at this point, because as you indicated, he went into office, there in the first term, not knowing the functioning of the administrative state. And as a result, ended up in a lot of trouble because he put the wrong people in certain offices and didn't dig deep enough and get rid of a lot of Obama people that, were still hangers on. And so it's critical, and I know Mr. Trump and his team know this now, that they put into place not only people that understand how these bureaucracies function, but can dig deep enough and rid themselves of some of the evil that's really penetrated into the very walls of the foundations of these bureaucracies. Now, the people on the Hill need to listen to those that really have experience working in Washington and understand how this corrupted, environment functions, so that we can reverse that and go in a new direction. And I have great confidence that he now has people on his team that fully appreciate what I'm saying.
Lieutenant Colonel, at the time of this taping, we have time of transition for these months before he's sworn in. What will the left try to do to keep him from being in office? I've heard, Mondo, you can bring me up to date, on the news, there's rumblings that there's riotings in some of the cities already.
The first step is what's happening is the anti-Trump protests taking place in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Chicago, and they're expecting it to go into New York, Los Angeles, Houston, St. Louis, Kansas City. because of the disappointment of what just happened. I think a lot of people really thought from that side that they were going to win. There was a momentum that was built within 100 days, but momentum doesn't change the hearts of what America voted for. And the disappointment is going to lead into riots. So the military, the police departments all over this nation. I was on the phone yesterday with a former DEA out of Springfield, Missouri, and they're planning already to send out troops in our cities just to try to maintain what's happening. But you're realizing they're going to do everything they can. I love what you said earlier. The task of the Democratic Party is to execute protests and riots in order to send a message. Yet it doesn't unify their message, just like they were mentioned. They're unifiers. Yet they cannot come to the conclusion that they lost. Yet their number one tool has always been how to market themselves properly, how to use social media properly. And out of social media comes violent protest that has to do with the election of Donald Trump.
What do you think, Lieutenant Robert Maginnis, is going to happen? I've read from some of the higher ups in office right now that there's going to be war, there's going to be inside of America, there's going to be just rioting in the streets. And I didn't think we were going to have any because the vote was so big. It was overwhelming. It was,
yes.
You know, Trump kept saying too big to rig. Yeah. Well, it was too big to rig, but they're not content.
No.
What do you think, Robert, that's happening with America? Are they not going to be content to let Trump enter the office peacefully?
Well, hopefully that does not come to fruition. Clearly, we have all the police forces and others around this nation that have been preparing for the possibility of what you described, Pastor. I know here in Washington, D.C., that local police have worked with the Capitol Police to coordinate the possibility of violence. Now, fortunately, at this point, we have not seen significant violence, but it's always possible. I go back to 2020 and when so many cities in America were on fire. But it's my prayer that this will not come to fruition, that the Democrats have been wounded sufficiently, but that doesn't keep these outside players, the Soroses of the world, to throw some money at a bunch of protesters that would cause disruption. And so it's a possibility. I think we should collectively pray that not come to fruition, that we have a peaceful transition, and that we get on to the agenda that Mr. Trump has in mind.
I mean, we had a Mondo that was a unanimous, not unanimous, but it was a huge popular vote.
Yeah.
As well as all the others.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened since 2004. The Republicans haven't won the popular vote since 2004, 20 years ago. Wow. So think about that. By doing that, I mean, that sends a clear message because the Democrats are constantly saying we need to get rid of electoral college.
Starting to riot, and they're still trying to.
Yeah. And as a protest, you can see that they're going to protest. They're going to do that, and like the Colonel just said, there's going to be interest groups out there that'll fund people to go out and do that. They'll do that.
But we'd say no ground, no space for them to do that.
No, absolutely.
I mean, they can do it, but we just don't need to pay any attention.
No, you can protest. You can protest all you want. That's a right we have.
Yeah. America's on a mission right now, and that mission is to get things accomplished, to get the economy back into place, to close the borders. And I love what you just said, Darren. The Democratic Party, when you study them, they're about being popular. Yeah. And no wonder they want to get rid of the electoral vote, because that's what the law and what's put in place. But even with their popular stars, they couldn't even gain ground. But anyways, I don't want to get in that tantrum. I do want to ask you, sir, we're watching China right now making moves that they're getting ready to invade Taiwan. Can you give us an update on China? What do you feel China's next move will be, and why we should be watching Taiwan very closely?
Yeah. Well, clearly, the Communist Chinese under President Xi Jinping have every ambition, every intent of retaking what they consider the breakaway province of Taiwan, the former Formosa. And at this point, it appears as if the Chinese military is growing rapidly and will soon, based upon the Pacific Indo-Pacific commander there in Oahu, our chief four-star general, our admiral out there, he anticipates perhaps by 2027 that the Chinese will finally get to the position they feel as if they can retake Taiwan. Now, I've been arguing for years, unfortunately, that not until here recently have people begun to recognize that we are facing a phalanx of evil regimes. What I call the Alliance of Evil back in 2018 was the new Cold War. And we are in a new Cold War. And I think most pragmatic geopolitical experts have come to that conclusion because the tightness that we're seeing between China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, and some others, unfortunately, is just palpable. These people are using every, power that they have to execute their agenda around the world. The Chinese have made it clear, especially President Xi in his public statements for years, that he has every intention of taking over much of the world. Now, that's an ambition that he can't quite realize. He is having some demographic issues, he is having some economic issues, but his military continues to almost rival and in some areas exceed our own. We expect their nuclear force to be as capable or more capable than our own by the early part of the next decade. Their Navy is larger than ours and going to grow even larger over the next few years. Their ground forces are larger than ours. Their air forces are just almost equivalent in capability. So when you look across the board, they're incredibly capable, and yet, we're seeing contributions made not only to their own forces to, stand up against Taiwan, but the battle that's been ongoing at Putin's decision in Ukraine has drawn North Korean troops into the battle in Kursk. It's also drawn, ballistic missiles and drones out of Iran. And of course, the entire region of the Middle East is in turmoil because of the Iran, attacks against Israel, as well as the proxies. And so when you look globally, you see what I would consider a new world order being stood up. And it's led to a large degree by the Chinese and the Russians. And that touches virtually every continent of the world, especially, their captivation of much of Africa, their incursions into South Africa or South America, as well as Central America, and then, of course, throughout Oceania and much of the Indo-Pacific region. These are very credible threats, and they've demonstrated a great deal of capability. So we need to take that into account. I don't think the Biden people quite understood what they were facing. Hopefully, Mr. Trump and his new secretaries of state and defense will take this to heart and begin to put in place a strategy that is absolutely essential if we're to survive in the coming years.
The New York Times is saying for Ukraine, Trump's victory signals a shift to what is unclear. What kind of shift would there be for Ukraine under a new Trump administration? Can you answer that?
Yeah, well, Zelensky came over here a month or so ago, the president of Ukraine, and brought what he called a victory plan. And that victory plan was intended to basically spur the U.S. administration to support his ambitions to take the battle into Russia. Now, that's problematic. We've provided, $60 billion worth of kinetic aid, in other words, weapons, plus many billions beyond that. And what Zelensky wants to do basically is use our long-range weapons, which include F-16s, HIMARS, other capable systems, to project that power deep into Russia. Now, they've already in the past reached as far as Moscow, which is about 300 miles from the Ukrainian border. And then, of course, they've, had incursions into proper Russia. Meanwhile, of course, the concern is that this regional war has metastasized into something that is far more involving much of the world. The Chinese are participating, as I said moments ago, the North Koreans, the Iranians. People are feeling the pinch on grain production elsewhere, especially in Africa, because Ukraine has been the breadbasket of the former Soviet Union. And our European allies, mostly of which, of course, NATO, all 33 members now, are really very concerned that in a matter of a couple of years, that if Putin is not dealt with properly, that he will expand his efforts, especially in the Nordic and Baltic countries, which have been really ratcheting up their spending in a major way. So is Putin ambitious? Yes. Does Putin want to retake much of Ukraine? Of course, he's made that clear. The question remains, is he going to have the means to expand beyond where he is? And I'm just hopeful that Mr. Trump can come in and provide a formula that causes Putin to back down, and it really puts a resilience in the NATO allies to defend their own interests without us having to spend one more dime in Eastern Europe.
Wow. I want to shift to the Middle East real quick, Colonel, because the activity in the Middle East is ramping up to a point where a lot of experts are saying that this could lead us into a World War III. But just a few hours ago, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu was one of the first leaders to congratulate Donald Trump on his victory. But my question to you is, how can this second term of Donald Trump affect the war in the Middle East?
Well, keep in mind, Mondo, that under Trump, we had the Abrahamic Accords, which brought peace between Israel and several Arab countries. And had we had a second immediate term of Mr. Trump, that would have continued. And we would have, arguably, Iran wouldn't have been bolstered with all the oil money that the Biden people gave him, and of course forgave so many other things and lifted sanctions, that we would have had a very different Middle East. But today, because Iran was enriched by pulling out of JCPOA, which is the nuclear program that Obama put in place and that Trump withdrew in 2018. Then, of course, Biden tried to restart, and he forgave all these issues and sanctions he lifted, and money he allowed oil to come in and make them flush so they can fund Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis, as well as a number of groups in Iraq and Syria and elsewhere. And so it's unfortunate that that has happened. Now that Iran has directly attacked Israel with ballistic and drones beginning in April and again early last month, that what we have seen, of course, Israel responded so far with a restrained arm. They went after, the Hamas leader in downtown Tehran, which was a good decision. And then, of course, weeks ago, they killed Sinwar, which was the replacement Hamas leader. They went after Nasrallah and killed him. And now, of course, they've taken out hundreds of other leaders in Hezbollah. And then, of course, I just understand that the Grand Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is really upset at Bashar Assad because he didn't report on the Israeli jets that flew over Syria on their way to Iran on the bombing on the 26th of October that decimated Iranian S-300s, which are their air defense systems that the Russians had sold them years ago that were so critical to guarding their nuclear and infrastructure for oil systems. So there's a lot that's going on. Unfortunately, there's going to have to be a lot of repairing going forward because the Iranians feel emboldened, and unfortunately, they have strategic relationships with Russia and China. And so you can make the scenario that Russia and China will not allow the Iranian regime, the radical regime there under Ali Khamenei, to continue to suffer at the hands of the Israelis. So it could be quite a mix-up. And of course, we're responding with B-52s and squadrons and more ships in the region. Hopefully this won't get out of hand, but it's always that possibility.
I've been so concerned about Iran and the nuclear war, but our leaders have said don't bomb
their nuclear
facility, don't bomb their oil. Do you believe that we're going to be able to help Israel in this thing? Because Iran said they're going to bomb Israel off the map. And that makes, as a Christian, I don't like that. But what do you believe is going to happen there with that nuclear facility? I think it's the biggest thing that we're facing in the world right now.
Well, the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is the watchdog by the UN, which has been in Iran and has monitored the stockpiles of enriched uranium, they've radically, over the last few years during the Biden administration, increased their quantity of 60% enriched uranium. And of course, that's only a couple of weeks away if they use their centrifuges properly to have 90%, which would be used for a nuclear weapon. I would argue that in September, mid-September, Sergei Shoigu, who was the former Minister of Defense in Russia, was there in Tehran, and they negotiated a new deal. Basically, what Iran would do is provide more drones and missiles to the Russians to use in Ukraine, and in exchange, they would get nuclear technology as well as space technology to help their programs. Arguably, they don't need, they being the Iranians, any more technology, because they've been stealing it and buying it from the North Koreans and the Pakistanis and others over the years, that they in fact have plenty of ballistic missiles and they have the know-how to make nuclear weapons, and perhaps they've already done that. Now, we know a few years ago, Netanyahu, when he was prime minister previously, unveiled what arguably was half a ton of materials they had stolen from a warehouse in Tehran that demonstrated that the Iranians were well in advance in their nuclear program. And I think that they haven't yet perfected one, but they are very close. And so what would we do to assist? Well, I don't think the Biden administration would ever have given the Israelis these bunker penetrating bombs that we have, but I don't believe they have, that would be necessary to dig deep and destroy where the centrifuges are and where their nuclear programs are located. And they have a pretty good idea where they are. However, what they don't have is the ability, short of using atomic weapons, to destroy those facilities. So there's a lot that needs to be done behind the scenes. You may not know about it until something happens, and even at that point, some people won't talk about it. But these sorts of things have to happen between the Israeli administration and hopefully the Trump administration going forward.
This is so key, because America's, I'm afraid that...
I mean, when you talk about atomic bombs, you're not, it's not some little...
No, this would change the world.
Bomb.
This would change the world. This would change the world. Let me say it again. This would change the world, because you got people that don't care about human life. They don't care about their own people.
That's the key.
Why would they care about us? When they are willing to sacrifice their own people to make a statement. You look at Syria, killing their own people. You look at Turkey. You look at, I mean, we can go down the list. Yet America has always been a compassionate nation.
Yes.
But compassion doesn't mean much anymore, because they take advantage of compassion. Yet, when you have a leader like Donald Trump, that remember in the first administration when in 2016 he's having dinner and having ice cream, he sends bombs to Syria to send a message. Yet, America doesn't understand how war is being fought today, because wars are being fought without even thinking about it. When you got nations like Russia invading Ukraine at all costs, then you got Syria, you got, Iran. I mean, when you look at the news right now, you realize, this is according to the Business Insiders, Iran warns of crushing response. Is there any compassion in that statement? Crushing response following Israeli airstrikes. Again, we're dealing with nations that want to escalate this to the point that they have to force America to get involved. The problem is what we talked about during election night, that in America, we have allowed over 10 million illegal immigrants into this nation, yet we only have close to 2 million active men and women in the service right now. How do we defend all fronts? And by the way, pray for Ricky. He's serving our nation right now. That's why he's not on the program. He sent me a picture I'm going to put on the screen. But pray for our young men and women that are dying for this country, defending this nation. But I want to tell you something, Darren, what is going to happen to our military if we get into, let's say, 7 front wars, or that we can't handle, yet we're being asked to join in?
Yeah, we can't sustain that, and that's the problem. We get so spread thin, deploying all of our units, all these different areas in different countries. A lot of the stuff we're in, we shouldn't even be there. But let's go back to Iran. Look, with the Biden administration, Iran, if something were to happen, they could almost count on the Biden administration asking or telling Israel for restraint. You need to restrain your resolve. You need to restrain your reactions. They know that's what happens. That's what they do.
Yeah.
With the Trump administration, they got to be thinking, oh, if we do something now, Trump will be like, do whatever you need to do. If you need our help, we got your back. So that's a deterrent like no other.
Yeah.
But
complete.
I don't think people understand how serious this is.
It's mega serious. It's incredible.
These kind of bombs will wipe out Israel.
Yes.
Take it off the face of the
And
map.
then when you have
and
people,
that's what they want to do.
Yes.
We have leaders that have said, no, don't hurt their bombs, don't hurt their oil. I'm telling you, I'm old, so I don't even care anymore, but I'm mad. I'm angry because we're putting Israel in a state where their enemy wants to wipe them off the face of the earth.
This administration has allowed Iran to absolutely come back from the brink of bankruptcy. They've allowed them to refund themselves to the point where, well, it looks what's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait a minute, before you leave, Colonel, I know you have to leave in just a minute, but I wanted to tell us about your new book, which will come out in a few weeks, probably. Yeah. Could you tell me the name of it and what it's about, your new book coming out? And I hope we can carry it on our show.
Yeah, I'll be glad to, Pastor. You're preparing for World War II, or World War III, rather. And a lot of what we've talked about here with the new axis of evil, with the cooperation of Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and others, is just evidence of a new world order that they seek. And of course, in that process, they seek to eliminate the post-World War II world that was created with a host of international institutions that, by and large, embrace the democratic principles that founded the United States. And so when we look at this, we have to consider, what is our readiness level? Interestingly, I go through the analysis of what our own armed forces are really inadequate, partly because we have a national security strategy that's unfit for the new world. And I go through the details. We need to be prepared to fight at least 2, if not 3, regional conflicts at the same time. Right now, arguably, we're engaged in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe. And, we've talked about already in the program, Taiwan. Our military, when you look at our capabilities, we've underinvested, and of course, we've wasted a lot of that funding over time. But the Heritage Foundation did a great study, but there are other studies that I make reference to that I have access and did the analysis on that to demonstrate why we don't have what we need to face down the enemies that we face today. So I go through that. I talk about the failure of deterrence, especially Mr. Biden's only thing seems to be he told the Ayatollah don't, and he used that frequently. But he didn't help our allies nearly as much as he should and could have. And then, of course, I deal with preparation. What we did not experience in World War I, II, and even the Cold War was a battlefront here in America. And I'm afraid that if we continue down this pathway that we have of vulnerability, that it could happen here. And it's not just with bombs and the like. It could be electromotive forces that are generated from above that freeze and fry all our electronics. It could be cyber attacks against our very infrastructure, which the Chinese have placed pretty good capabilities with. It could be a host of other things that I go into great detail. So when you look at it in a global fashion, you begin to see all the pieces come together. And so I'm hoping that the next Trump administration will embrace this, will write a strategy that's meaningful, that will cut out the waste and focus our capability on being able to stand against the likes of all of these evil regimes that are lined up against us. And if we do that, then we can go forward and be a country like we've been a shining light on the hill in the future. But if we fail to do this, then Katie, bar the door. We're going to be in very grave circumstance, and unfortunately, America won't be what it has been in the past.
Why is America weak right now in its warfare? Now, we don't have even the ships and the bombs and all the other things, and
because of the ideology of the left. That's why they have made the military like a laboratory for for woke and social justice ideology or programs. It's insane. Look, the military is a fighting machine.
Yeah, we
should have warriors in the military, but we're like testing out these woke agenda. No, that's not a place for the military. We shouldn't be even considering that for 1 second.
Do you think the young people today understand the seriousness of what's going on in the world, and that these bombs that like Iran has can wipe whole countries off the map?
In America, a lot of the younger don't know what's going on day by day. I don't know if they give any thought to the whole picture, but I do know this. The military, a lot of the younger military-age guys, they're not going into the service.
No, they're leaving, actually.
Yes, it's a joke.
Yeah.
They're looking at what in the world are we doing?
Wow.
And so who wants to go in and serve? Who wants to go in and serve when the administration that's there like right now will put you in harm's way and not care? We're losing people. Look, if it is important enough to put us in harm's way, then allow us to do the job.
Come on.
Well, when they're spending more money on trying to educate the military on transgenderism versus what it is to be at war in the Middle East, we got a problem. Which, by the way, I urge you to get this book on our website right now. Call us. Progressive Evil is one of the books that retired Lieutenant Colonel Robert Maginnis has written several years ago that is still relevant to where we are right now. And we want to thank you for joining us today, sir. Your input, your voice, your views are so important. Please come back again. We love you and we appreciate what you've done. But call us right now, 1-888-988-1588, and get this book today, Progressive Evil: How Radicals Are Redefining America's Rights, Institutions, and Ideals, Making Her Globally Irrelevant for the End Times. This is a book that you don't want to miss. Go to the website, jimbakkershow.com, or give us a call right now, 1-888-988-1588.
Darren, I just want to ask you one more time. I'm a little stuck on this because the kids don't understand.
Yeah.
We have warfare that we've never used before in America. We've never had it happen. But we're in a time. What do you call it? We're in a bomb waiting to drop.
Yes.
And I'm very concerned. I mean, our enemies have bombs that can shut down all of our power. You don't understand it. It's never been used, but they all have it, right?
Not only that, they have a laptop that they can use to do cyber warfare that can shut our systems down. This is a different type of war we're fighting. Not only the mega extremes, but one laptop can literally, and we saw this several years ago where they were able to shut down power on hospitals and little cities all by a push of a button. But Darren, this is something that today's generation doesn't really think about.
Yeah.
We're more worried about if we lose internet and not get on TikTok.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, have you seen the report where because a lot of stuff comes from China.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the electronics, they have things that transmit data back to China. I think there was, what's those little vacuum computer?
Yeah.
Those things have programs that sends information, data back to China.
Yeah.
How scary is that?
Yeah. They take video, floor plan data, and there's little units. I mean, you're right. And you know why? When you look at the warfare between Taiwan and what's happening there, it's all about a microchip that controls the world. And that microchip sends data. Remember, we've said this many times.
Yeah.
He who controls the data will control the world.
That's right.
And the wars that are being fought.
It's a new war. It's new warfare.
And then you have the people that have control of these bombs that don't care about life whatsoever. They don't care. I mean, look at the ones. That's why we shouldn't allow them to have them.
I'm old, so I'm going to repeat myself. But I want to know, you are smart. That's why you're here. But we have a nation that has just developed nuclear warfare. As far as we know, they have the bomb right now. They've been working on the delivery, and they have plenty of systems to deliver. So one of the bombs, or many of them all at once, they can wipe Israel off the map. That's the Holy Land. Does anybody care that that's where Jesus was born? That's where Jesus walked? Pastor, what's wrong with me? I can't get through to anybody.
No, but when we look at the end times of where we're at and what we're going through, I mean, everything is unfolding before our eyes one day at a time. And I tell you, they're crossing a line because they're crossing God. And I do believe that God fights for Israel. But I know that these people are evil. They have no respect for God.
But why we have a president right now that told Israel not to bomb
Back down.
Iran's nuclear warfare.
Yeah.
Well, he's funding them, the other people.
But they're saying we want to wipe Israel off the map.
Yeah.
What part do we not understand?
How long
What's
do we
wrong with me?
listen to that?
Am I too old to be on TV anymore?
How long do we listen to that before we realize they're serious? How many times do we got to hear them say something before we realize they're serious? Do they got to drop a bomb in our lap before you're like, oh, I guess they were serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They keep saying, you got to say, well, you know what? I think they have the intent.
There's people in this country right now that are beginning to riot because Trump is going to take office eventually. And there's people that are even predicting civil war in the United States. And I'm not allowed to say anything, but Ricky is in the National Guard. Is that what you call it? And he's been called up today. And I'm not allowed to tell where he's gone or what he does or anything. You know, everything's secret. But it has something to do with the rioting in America. So something a little more serious than we know right now is even going on in our country.
Yeah, so with the protest, I mean, a lot of states have called up the National Guard as a precaution because there's protest. And we know if they don't get the attention or the results that they want from the protest, then there'll be spots here and there that will turn into riots.
I'm going to ask you something. Do these people hate America this much?
The Democrats hate America. They hate America.
Wow.
They do.
Yeah, their ideology, they hate America. Their ideology is death.
Have you ever listened to the Jewish man who's on Fox? He has a show called
Levin?
Mark Levin.
Oh, yeah, yes.
He is the most powerful voice we have in America. And I hope some of you will turn into his show.
And he knows the Constitution forward and backward, too.
What do you want to talk about, Mondo?
No, I think, our guest earlier said we need to be ready.
Yeah.
We need to be prepared, not only physically, militarily, and all that, but every household needs to be ready. We want you to watch this, and then we'll come back.
We are introducing a brand new affiliate product to you, something that you are not going to want to miss out. This is Numana Food, and I love the tagline. It says, food storage you'll love to eat. This isn't your regular, everyday, long-term food storage. This looks like it is something that needs to be put on your table tonight.
Yes. And Ricky, I just want to say, of course, in the amazing Jim Bakker style, he always says, for all of our partners who are watching, show them the food. But we are witnessing and watching right now that this food is good enough to put into your pantry. When you order a bucket, order multiples, put it into your pantry, because not only are we seeing where people are preparing for times of trouble, enduring times, for the end times, different reasons, and many people have their reasons of why they prepare, but we're also watching right now inflation. Every home, there's not one home that is not being affected by the food prices that are rising.
Right.
You see food prices going up, you see disasters. We know it's coming. It's, you read the Bible, and this is something that you gotta get prepared for.
This is a family pack. Our amazing staff and team have made it all up, but here's what is included. There's 17 different varieties of food that is included in this bucket. You have sweet habanero chili with pineapple. We have the rice pilaf, black bean soup. There's also classic chili, cheesy potato soup, oatmeal with brown sugar, cheddar broccoli soup, pancake mix, granola with multi-grain cereal, mac and cheese. Thank you for thinking of our children. Mac and cheese, Hawaiian style, sweet and sour, potato casserole, pasta primavera, enchiladas, beans and rice, pasta Alfredo, Italian pasta with marinara sauce, and creamy vegetable and rice soup. As you can see here, the team has made it all up. So what I love that you guys have done with this family pack is truly you cover the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you have different foods that you can make for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This food is 25+ year shelf life. And so you're not just getting something that's gonna last you a couple years. This is an item that we have always worked hard to say we have to have that long storage, shelf life food, up to 25-year shelf life food. It's available right now. What I love is even as we're talking about it, you can go to our website. We've just launched the Numana affiliate site. So you're gonna go to our website, go to our store, click on the Numana site, and you're gonna see not just this bucket, but there's so many different varieties. And I'll just say there's organic buckets, there's no gluten buckets, there's a family buckets, there's milk individually. But what I love is they've put together 1 bucket option, 3 buckets, 6 buckets, 12 buckets. So that allows you to meet the needs of your family. When we're looking at this family starter, as you see here, 17 different varieties, and there's 144 servings of food in 1 bucket.
When we started, it's been 12+ years. We never dreamed, I guess maybe you have an inkling, but you never dreamed you were going to get to this point. The things that you see on the news were only part of your imagination.
Yes.
It's about being self-reliant, being prepared, and so that you can carry on with your mission no matter what.
We can no longer wait. We have to act. The Lord is saying we have to act. We have to prepare, and we want you to do that today. We can help you. Our operators are standing by. The number again is 1-888-988-1588. Remember, you can also go to the website to get a glimpse of all the different types of buckets that we're offering and releasing here at the Jim Bakker Show.
It's time to get ready.
Absolutely.
I've been talking about it for years, but we're on the edge. There's the buckets right there.
Yeah, this is
we
insurance.
have all this. This is the best food we've ever offered, and it's all kinds of food.
This is it. This is insurance. This is peace of mind. And here's the thing. You know, you can go through your house and you can see what you have, and you know how many calories you need per person and how long you want to do that for. This takes all the guesswork out of it.
Wow.
So you figure that out. Well, let's see. I got a family for. This is how many calories we're going to need every day, and I want to prepare the family for 3 weeks. Well, then you figure it out. What is 144 servings, 25 plus year shelf life. Yeah. You invest in this, and you talk about peace of mind. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Takes all the guess out of it.
This is the best we've ever offered, and it's brand new. And it will last 25 years, and
it tastes good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to keep you alive. That's the most important thing. It'll keep you alive when there's no food.
Yep.
No, and what they need to do is go to the website, jimbakkershow.com, and visit the new Manna affiliate page. Or better yet, we want to talk to you. Give us a call, 1-888-988-1588. And we want to walk through the process with you, because the biggest thing about this is that you can buy now and pay later.
Whoa.
And they're going to work with you on whatever you can do. And I want to tell you something. There's never been a greater time to get your food. We have organic recipes. We got no gluten recipe. We got your regular family pack. We got vegetables. We got fruit. We got water. I mean, the decision for you to do something is today, and we want to make it available where you buy now and pay later.
And you get the water by the cases or by a truckload. This is the best we've ever had, and this is water that we think it'll probably last a lifetime. So
yeah,
it's
20 years shelf life.
It's at least 20 years.
It is military graded plastic. There is no bacteria.
There's no bacteria in it, so it'll survive.
Absolutely.
And you can be thrilled to be able to have pure water. Yes. So call right now or go to the website, and after we go up the air, you can just shop for your heart's delight, okay?
Absolutely. We got to go. But remember this, that Jesus is King. He's coming back. He's the only answer. And if you don't know him today, ask him to forgive you of your sins. Ask him to guide you in this time that we're in right now. He wants to be Lord and Savior of your life. There's no greater time to know that Jesus is the one that will heal your wounds, restore your life, and really put your back together. You used to say Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall, right? And no one can put him back together, but we know the one that can. His name is Jesus. He will bring you peace and comfort in the time that we're in right now. But Dad, we got to go.
Remember, God loves you. He really, really does.
Amen.
We would not be able to be here without you. If you want to see more from us and our family, go to watchjimbakkershow.com. And as my dad always says, remember, God loves you. He really does.